This is Ask an Expat with Marcus and Matt from An Expat's Russia, where we answer your questions about what it's like to live, work, and travel in Russia.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode. Today, we're going to talk about our favorite Russian foods. This is probably one of my favorite topics. But Marcus, how would you kick it off? What is sort of your favorite Russian food?
I would say probably some dairy products like Sirki. They're kind of like cheesecake dessert is like the closest you could probably get to it.
I would say a cottage cheese pancake.
Yeah, but cottage cheese has this like texture, like this, completely different texture, I think, too. But anyway,
Sure.
It's like tvorog is this kind of dry cottage cheese, but it's like smoother than American cottage cheese. And you can make Sirki, you can just eat it with raisins or dried apricots. It's good kind of as a dessert. Or
Real quick clarification here. So you're saying Sirki, but my wife calls them Sirniki. I think that's maybe more a common name.
Sirniki are fried.
Oh,
Sirniki.
tворожные сырки. Tворожные сырки.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes have chocolate on them.
Right, so they're like little desserts that they have chocolate on them, or they're vanilla chocolate. So I was thinking of sirniki, which are fried. So you can take the tvorog and fry them like kind of like a pancake.
That's why I said pancake. I was confusing the two. My wife used to love sirki, but you can't really find them in the US. Whereas you can make sirniki, and that's what she'll make for our daughter, for example.
Right, so. And then the second thing, actually, it wasn't a favorite when I first got to Russia, but I grew to love it. Any of the Russian salads with beets. I like just beet salad with, like you boil beets, you grate it, and you add garlic.
So basically, Saliyanka под шубой without the Saliyanka.
No, I don't like that as much because the combination of fish and beets don't sit well with me. But like vinaigrette is a very simple Russian salad, but the beets, if it's a rich beet, it gives nice flavor. Borscht, like really rich borscht soup with rich beets is delicious. What about you?
So just a real quick comment about the beets. I never really learned to like the beets, but about salads, I will say when I first went to Russia, probably my least favorite thing was Olivia. But I will be 100% honest. After having lived in Russia for 5 years, having a Russian wife, celebrating Russian New Year's, I have a newfound appreciation for Olivia, which is like the Russian, it's kind of similar to like an American potato salad. It's mayonnaise based with basically anything you can find in the kitchen, right? So potatoes, peas, carrots, egg, chopped, like hard-boiled egg chopped up.
But the funny thing is every Russian makes it different. Same with borscht, right? So if you go, to somebody's house, you're like, oh, Olivia, delicious. And then they made it differently. You're like, this isn't the same.
Not quite the same. Yeah, exactly. But my all-time favorite, I have two kind of foods that are tied, I think. One is more a prepared food, holodets. Love holodets. And it's like this meat jelly. So basically you kind of boil meat until the kind of gelatin comes off the bones. And then, that with the broth kind of makes it jelly. We don't really have anything quite similar to it in the US. I'm sure some people do, like the Russian community over time, they've had dishes in the US, but I love holodets. It's like a staple for New Year's. The other food that I really, really like, and we can get into like a longer list, right? Because obviously I like plov, shashlik, like all of these other foods.
Plov is delicious.
I don't typically consider those Russian food, but the other Russian food I love is salo. Some people will say, oh, it's Ukrainian, but salo is like this, it can be smoked or it can be just pork fat, salted pork fat.
Right. It's delicious.
It's delicious.
One of my favorites.
You take a little piece of black bread.
Do you eat it plain or do you eat it?
No.
Okay, on black bread.
So I like it plain. And my wife's grandmother always used to say, oh, how can you eat that plain? She would just look at me like, oh, it's so hard on the stomach to eat that plain. And I was like, well, what is the difference if you put it on a piece of bread or you eat it plain? It's still the same in your stomach. Anyway, that's one of my favorites.
Do you do it the right way? I was told my mother-in-law's family from Altai, they brought some fresh sala. And they say you have to freeze it and you slice it like paper thin, and then put it on like right out of the freezer.
You don't eat it when it's frozen. You have to wait till
they say you have to.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it that way, but typically you do that so you can slice it paper thin, but then you kind of give it 5 to 10 minutes so it's not frozen. That's how I like it.
Everyone does it differently.
Right.
Even the Russians can't agree.
My wife's family, what they do is it's always a piece of black bread that's toasted. And what they do is they take a little piece like garlic. You just you cut it in half. So there's like a flat edge on it and you rub it on the bread.
Yeah. So
there's like this kind of garlic layer on the black bread that's toasted. And then you put the sal on top of that. And that's how you eat it. Like that's amazing. But just eating it plain is also great. But actually, as I'm sitting here thinking, one of my other all-time favorite dishes is definitely Saliyanka. You mentioned borscht, Russian soup. My favorite of all of the soups by far is Saliyanka. And my favorite place to have Saliyanka is at the Stolovaya. And if you want to go one step higher, it's the Stolovayas that you pass on the side of the road. We've done videos talking about road trips in Russia, but they have the best Saliyanka, right? You're just like driving, you're like hungry, and it's not like America where you have rest stops. You're just like driving, and then there's just like a weird kind of like Stolovaya on the side of the road. You just stop, like, give me your Saliyanka. And so good. The road trips are worth it just for that.
I wouldn't say that I'm a huge soup person. I don't like soup that much.
I'm not either, actually. But Saliyanka. Yeah. Love that.
So I mean, Saliyanka doesn't. It's okay. I mean, I like the soup, but what surprised me was there's two types of fish that I really like. A lot of Americans actually don't eat fish, but there were, let's see, scumbria is, what's that in English again? Mackerel. So there's this like cold smoked mackerel that
Well, they cold smoke a lot of things, fish, meat.
Right. But if you buy hot smoked, then the texture of the fish is like mushy, and I don't like it that way. But
interesting.
There was this one time we were driving to Latvia, and we stopped on the side of the road, and they had this cold smoked fish, but it wasn't. I didn't know what it was, but it was the most delicious I've had, and I didn't grow up loving fish, but in Russia, some of the fish was really, really good.
Right. So I also learned to kind of like fish in Russia. I even, and I'd be interested to know what you think of the dried fish. What's very, very popular in Russia is they dry the fish out completely, and it's a very acquired taste for most foreigners. Honestly, I wasn't a huge fan. But in the end, you kind of learn. I mean, I can eat it. It's not as repulsive as it was in the beginning.
Well, let's touch on the last thing, Russian treats, because I don't think a lot of people, think of Russian food as having good Russian treats. One thing that
and desserts,
I always, like desserts. I wouldn't say they're strong in, like cheesecake or something. That's kind of hard to get in Russia, but like a good cheesecake. But I really love I would always bring back chocolate covered prunes and apricots, things that I didn't see often in the US.
You're starting to be able to find those kinds of things, but most people don't like them because they're not as sweet. Americans, we love our sweet stuff. I do not, but when you go to the store here, it's all just incredibly sweet stuff. But I will say in Russia, they also love their sweets. There's like a whole culture. We should do another video around sweets, because when you say treats, it just kind of jogged my memory as well. I mean, there's like this whole culture around having like something sweet with tea whenever guests come over, and so. Right.
Those are our favorite Russian foods. If you have some particular Russian foods in mind, drop them in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.
All right. See you in the next video. What do you call it in English? Is it a clove of garlic? Yeah.
If you have any of your Russian foods on the top of your in your, well, cut that out.